The markets are experiencing some volatility today, right? As we see the stock market actually getting hit pretty decently. Some will attest it to, the current jobs report, I suppose, that was listed today. Bitcoin pretty much round tripped the, end of the day rally that we saw yesterday. Let's just take a look at everything, kind of get a good idea of at least what I'm looking at for the near future here on Bitcoin. Ethereum as well. We're going to peek at the indices for the stock market. All right, so Bitcoin first, right? So essentially, we've got some, overall main key levels here that I have marked out. And when we started off this week, we actually had a really nice setup that I'd listed in the leading crypto Discord, right? So I always, I update everybody as much as possible, almost 24/7, really. And on Mondays or Sunday nights into Monday, generally give pretty much like a setup of the week, like I don't necessarily want to call it that, but just in general, just some key levels we want to look to, right? So this was our previous week range basically that we were trading off of. So it gives us some pretty key levels to kind of go off of as we come into this week. It's now Friday, so once again, this was something that we kind of work off of, especially in the beginning of the week. There you can see that we basically came up and we swept, right, the previous week high. So anyone that got into short positions around these areas here obviously had their stops up in this region. What also happens is you got breakout traders, right, that at the time you come up and you flip that area for a short period. So you got new traders coming in, entering longs basically at the high at the moment, only to then lose it, get back into the range. Point of control is a key level. We had a daily level as well. And then we just ran straight down basically, to the bottom of the range there, right? After that, you essentially look to basically just run from the high to the low, right? So we have our previous week high right here. Obviously, like I said, you ran the range, dumped it out. Previous week low was right here, as well as we had some new levels generated on Thursday, right? So we had the end of the month come in. So we had a new monthly level of support. We also had a new average price for the month of July, which generated for August, very likely to be hit during the month of August. And we pretty much did that right away. So we came in and knocked all those areas really nicely, right? So that was pretty much the stair step of the week so far. And once again, outlined in the leading crypto Discord. Now, what would I be looking for next, right? So we can go ahead and take off the last week's range here because not necessarily overly relevant at the moment. More so, we've got these, once again, these key levels here. But realistically, I'm looking for, one specific area at the moment for any more upside, I guess, right? So we came down once again, tapped on that monthly level that I was just discussing. Got a little bit of a bounce here, and I'm really looking to see if we actually come up towards about $66,000. All right, so at the moment, this is our developing week right here, right, and we can see obviously it's still going on, so it's still dynamically changing as we speak. We'll kind of continue through the weekend even, but we've got our point of control for the overall week at the moment. Coming back up here at like $66,400 area. We've also got a daily naked point of control sitting right here. And if we were to go ahead and pull a Fibonacci retracement from the high to low in this region right here, it's also our 0.5 on a retracement area here, right? So we've basically front ran it a little bit on this little move right here. Obviously, we came back down, but if we continue to make the way up, this little zone is a big area for me, right? So I'll be looking to either, for anybody that got into new positions around these little short-term areas, that's definitely a take profit zone. And potentially an area to look for a short area, right? So no given. Obviously, we got the gold pocket and a new monthly naked point of control just above this. But for me, looking really towards this like 66K area. And then we'll see how things kind of progress, right? So it is coming into the weekend, might not get too much action, but it, is definitely something that I'll be keeping an eye out for and listing updates as they arise, right? So that's the key area at the moment, and basically vice versa, right? Kind of flip this region, for any more upside. We obviously have the weekly open up here, which is probably going to turn into a weekly level for next week. But overall, that's like the main region that I'm looking to. Either we're going to come back up and reject from that 66.3 to 67.3, or flip that for upside. That's the key region at the moment. Or we, as far as any more downside from where we currently are, this key level is important, right? So it's 62,700. Now, just below us, we have a single print All right, now this is basically left from this area over here. It's pretty much, I like to just, in a simple term, it's like a gap, right? So when you get into that region, it gets defended, obviously, along the way. So we can see we've already bounced off this 3 times. But if you get into this area, it tends to fill really quickly, meaning like closing like 30-minute candles in this region. You can anticipate that we'll come down and fill that region down to 61K. Really wouldn't be, too much of a support area, in my opinion. I would imagine we actually just continue lower. Now, I know many people have their eyes on the probably the gold pocket region, which this is derived from the current low from the 53K up to the high up here. And that is also in line with a CME futures gap, right? So there's also an untapped weekly average there. Definitely an area where, I would imagine we'd probably see, some support come in. But realistically, to me, if we start to really lose this area, the 62,700, I do anticipate that we probably, continue on down, right? So, and once again, I don't know that for sure. It's just that's the probabilities, in my opinion, due to this strategy, right? So, 62,700 is a key level for any more downside at the moment, and in my opinion, 67.3 is kind of the key for upside. So until then, we've kind of bouncing around in this region. Key levels down on the below us, and we'll see how things tend to play out there, right? So let's just take a look at Ethereum really quickly. All right. So in simple terms here, or not a simple term, but in an overall pattern here for ETH, I like to call it the ETF BAT. This was a pattern that basically played out 2 weeks ago now on the 22nd, right? So right as the ETF got launched, or at least a couple of days before that, right, we came up, we completed this region. The target of this was essentially back down to the B point, right? And then also you got the gold pocket area as well, kind of in this region. We had a weekly naked point of control that was right here also, right? So all this was, outlined in the leading crypto Discord as well. Personally, I took the short up here at 35.51, so just about at the overall high there, about $10 from it. And I've taken profits along the way here, but I actually am still holding to see if we continue a little bit lower here, right? So once again, it kind of is going to, depend on how Bitcoin reacts at those key levels, and we'll kind of play it out, a little bit by year. The overall pattern that, I still have in play here for ETH, and pretty much the one that's put me in the really big area of caution over time, is still this the 4K BAT, right? So the pattern that took a few years to basically play out. All right, it's this one right here. We obviously topped out around this region. A major target was met, which was the 0.382, which I'm pulling that from the low to high. We've been knocking on that pretty heavily for quite a while. From this region, we do have the potential to get the continuation out of here, but so far, the lower high that we put in right here was very interesting to me, right? So from there, we've just kind of been bouncing around these areas here. Stock market doesn't look amazing to me, and that's also another just confluence to some degree, right? So, and we'll touch on that here shortly. But overall, ETH, could very well get a little bounce here. We got a couple of levels, short term in the interim to kind of range around this region. But if we start to come down and lose the 382 area, which is that 228.71. The next target of this pattern is your B point and your golden pocket, which do align together, okay? And if you'll also notice, we've got a yearly average price untapped that's sitting down here right under $2,000. So ultimately, that is a really big area that if we came down to would be, in my opinion, a really great buying opportunity. No guarantee we get there, but this is, taking some time to unfold. And some of the other things with potentially Bitcoin, if we get, break down lower, it would make sense for us to come down. Now, I wouldn't overlook the quarterly naked point of control here. That's just a little bit above these areas, right about 2,300. If you start to break this area, would be a bounce area. As well. And once again, I'll be updating along the way, but so far really nothing has changed in that regard, and been looking for this ever since March 18th, right? So it's been definitely a patience player, but that's just how the markets roll, right? Does it have to get down here? Absolutely not. Don't want you to be married to this. I'm not married to this, but just something that I've been aware of, been making me very cautious. I actually took a lot of profits from my Ethereum plays And I accumulated down here at 1200, still left 25% of that allocation on the table in case the market runs away from me. And I still have that, protection in case it does. But if it does not, I'll be looking to reallocate, down at these levels again, right? So if we get them, simple as that, right? Otherwise, you're bouncing around in this region, nothing out of what we haven't seen already in the last few weeks here, right? So moving on, I just want to kind of touch on the SPY, right? So if you've seen Twitter, especially, and a couple of videos I put out, once again, not trying to propel any sort of, overly bearish sentiment or, FUD as many would call it, or anything like that. These are technical setups and patterns and targets that are valid. They are not guaranteed. They can all fail, right? But these are things that as they're, coming into them, I try to point them out. These are, when we were topping around this region, especially, like, things were exciting, right? And all that good stuff. And, now we're getting some, and realistically on the SPY, this is the S&P 500 ETF, right? So pretty much on the S&P 500, just tack on another, decimal here. So it's probably about $5,300 right now, topped around 56.20. And, in theory, this is a deep crab pattern. Is what it is, right? So, and then in general, we've got our topping, our completion zone up here. We actually had a really classic gold pocket retracement today, or a couple days ago, maybe yesterday even, right? So you had your high, you came back, gold pocket back test right here, and then we've continued down. Will we bounce out of here? Very possible, right? Like, it's not like these got to go straight down if they're going to even hit these levels. It also doesn't have to, it's not going to happen overnight, right? These are long-term patterns that, this took, from January of 2022 to June of 2024. So, 2.5 years, this is kind of played out. This could take a few months to unwind here, right? And the key targets to this pattern specifically is back to the X point, your 382, which literally aligned perfectly, which is about 481. That would be about a 15% pullback, which doesn't usually bode well for crypto, right? So that's been another kind of antic I've been stacking on as confluence. Whether we're going to see it or not is the question, but just in general, with like looking at that ETH pattern that, could, like, from the high from 4K down to 2K, that was a 50% pullback. And it's like, how would we see that? Or why would we see that? Technically speaking, it's on the chart, right? So for me, I just have to anticipate it. And then if you wanted a little more of a why, everybody needs a why, right? So, and an easy answer would be, if the stock market corrects, everybody will just say, Bitcoin came with it, right? It's just the easy answer. So yeah, so we've got these areas down below us, right? So maybe a 15-20% correction over the summer here. And I say summer, it's August now. That could be August and September. Maybe roll into October a little bit. Honestly, in my opinion, if I was to line up, and I'm not a news guy by any means, but if I was to line up some news catalysts, right, I would say, something happens in the near future that, we've got a lot of negative news going around, right? So for me, like I said, don't need the news. This was definitely a situation where it was like, show me the chart, tell you the news type of situation. What I mean by that is, even on, like I said, I posted on Twitter, I posted on these things that I'm not a news guy, but if I had to, guess, that we would probably be getting a bunch of bad news soon, right? And that's just kind of how this is so far played out. And what I mean by that is, look around us, right? We've gotten some good news here and there, some ETF things, right, which are kind of like stale at the moment. But if you're a news person, you've got no shortage of odd news at the moment. So could we see some more downside? Yes. In my opinion, it's, we probably fall till the end of September time. The Fed cuts rates, Q4 hits, elections are around the corner. In my opinion, I think that it's programmed, and not because of even political side. I'm going to make a really an interesting video here based on the housing market and Trump and all this stuff. But personally, I think that Trump's going to get it. And once again, in the sense of technicals, I can see a potential setup where we get a correction right now and a huge rally towards the end of the year. And if you're going to have to allocate news to that, it would be Fed cuts rates, probably, Trump gets elected, whatever, everything rallies. But short term, I think we get a pullback right into these regions, and it would just make sense. Everything's been, running for like crazy. It's painful during those situations, right? So NASDAQ, same deal. Posted both of these, relentlessly in the Leading Crypto Discord as we were coming into the completion zones. Definitely put them on Twitter at the height, like at the peak of this, at 20,000 plus. On the day they both topped on the same time, Friday, July 12th. All right. We've seen nothing but pullbacks ever since, right? And it's just, once again, not going to be overnight. You do get some bounces. There's definitely tradable areas along the way if you're into the, stocks and everything like that. Obviously, crypto has had some great days as well. Overall, we may see some more downside, right? And that's just all I'm pointing out. Once again, I'm rushing through this video because I have a lot to cover and I'm trying to not make it long, but I'm like, listen to my voice. It's calm, cool, collected. I'm not trying to, push any agenda. I'm not trying to say, oh, I called it or anything like that. I'm just sharing the data, right? So for me, it's a new day. It's new data. I'm not married to any of these things. Even when I was posting these at the high, it's not like guarantee that this is going to happen, sell everything, oh, and now I'm right. And like, it doesn't matter, right? I don't care about being right. I don't care. Like I'm just trying to be on the right side. I'm presenting the data to my own self as well as yourselves to just be cautious, right? To share some cautionary outlook, I guess. Could this pattern not play out at all and we reverse from here? Yes, the market can do literally whatever it wants, right? So I'm just trying to be on the right side at the end of the day. But for this pattern, once again, deep crab. You can look this up on the harmonictrader.com. He's got a Discord, videos, patterns itself. There's things that are, on the way up, it's exciting, right? On the way to create this, super bullish. When it completes, it's pretty bearish, right? So, and that's just how that plays out. And yeah, so same deal, X leg or X point, 0.382, just line up perfectly, right? So that's basically a major target one to the downside here. And we've already seen about a 10% pullback. This is another 10 just about. And then overall, if the SPY comes down to those key levels, I'd imagine we see these regions right here on the NASDAQ, all right? Now, Dow Jones has a similar setup as well. I did anticipate maybe pushing up to like 42K on the Dow. We did not make it there. I think we got $700 less. But regardless, this pattern is still valid within a 10%, expansion here on the 1618. And yeah, so, we got an untapped quarterly average down here, which has got a high likelihood of being met. Obviously, it's not too far away now, so it's not that crazy to think. But when you're trading up here, this was only a 6% move. And I say that in a joking way because, I know in crypto, it's not that much. But in crypto, most people that invest in crypto aren't investing big dollars, right? In the stock market, these are big portfolio changing moves, right? Like you're talking about millions and billions of dollars of companies and people's 401ks and all these things. Like these are huge, scary times for the stocks. And once again, same thing, could have some more downside here, down towards about, 35, 36K and maybe even down to this region. But regardless, kind of take it step by step. The next one on the docket here is right just below us, 38,900. Now, Microsoft, right? Like I posted these key levels in the Discord as well, and we've come into these regions, potentially a bounceable area. Realistically, I don't anticipate it to stop here, right? So we've gotten to these regions here, and it's not. If the rest of the market does continue lower, obviously we're going to have to anticipate that they will go lower as well, right? So, but we are at an area where it's not like you can easily just short here. We've definitely come into some key regions, maybe get a little bounce out of here. For Tesla, the key levels I'm looking at for here, are down back below us also around that 174 to 189, posted them around these regions up here. And once again, like it's, making its way down. Could we get a little bounce up? Absolutely. But overall, targeting down into those areas there. NVIDIA, some key levels that I've been targeting here for a few weeks. We're down in these areas right here. We came into another one today. We got an overall gold pocket and an untapped monthly average that we just tapped. Down below that, I'm actually looking for 89.99 would be the next major zone here, right? So short-term bounce, most likely. Then if we do continue lower, it's the 89.99 area that I'll be looking at for NVIDIA. Hope you all enjoyed this, pretty brief update. I'll look to update again probably next week. Over the weekend, I'll be updating as always in the Discord, maybe a few TikToks here and there, some live streams. But if you are interested in joining, I did just create a new website on WAP. So you can go ahead and check that out if you'd like. 3 days for free. It's a pretty simple Discord. I like to just kind of, I don't like a ton of channels in there. Realistically, you just get my updates. I've got a included academy, which I cover all the resources, tools, indicators, the settings that I use. You get exclusive member-only video updates as well. So these 3 are just post only from me. And then I've got a few little chat rooms where everybody can just generally chat, post their own charts, ask questions on BTC, Ethereum, and altcoins. So if you're interested in that, do check out the link in the description down below. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your weekend. I hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.